let's before we go into lending, let's talk about how you feel about banks. And at what point did you say, I ain't keeping my money in no bank no more?
Well, usually, I mean, when you're dealing with banks, you know, they charge you a large amount of fee just to pay back the money. And the hardest part of it is about the banks is you got to have all these criteria to get a loan.
Yeah.
Especially when you really need it. Yeah. So they make a lot of excuses not to give you a loan, or they charge you an extra amount of interest just for you to have the loan for a period of time.
And well, tell us that story, Dad. You had money in your savings account, and you went to the bank to borrow money, and you told them if you didn't pay, just take it out your savings, and they told you no. And at that moment, you just took your money out.
Yes.
So tell us about that story.
Well, my thing is this: if a lot of times the bank won't lend you anything, so my thing is, why would I let you guys make money off my money, and you guys can't help me out when I really need it for a loan? So at that point in time, I decided to take all my money out the bank. I just use the bank as just a lot of people do direct deposit. Yeah. So I do it as just let my money hit there. As soon as my money hit, I take my money out.
And it's crazy because when I teach y'all this stuff, y'all think I'd be crazy when I'm telling y'all exactly what my dad does when it comes to the bank, and how when it comes to the trust with the bank and realizing how much money they make on our money. As soon as we put that money in that savings account, they lending our money out. They moving that money. They lending it out for 6 to 28%, and they giving us like 0.8%, not even 1%. And then when you want to go and leverage their money, like they leveraging your money, now they got all these criterias, but you don't have those criterias for them. And so, so my wife and I, we actually don't keep money in the savings account. We don't keep money in the checking account. We only keep money in the checking account for the business, just because how many transactions that we do. But the overall reserves, I teach y'all, we put those in those guaranteed reserves. They give us a guaranteed 4% every year, but allows us to use that money so that we can go ahead and make use of that. And so one thing I want to point out is that my dad, even though he has a safe, and, he took his money out the bank, and he kept the money either in his, wherever he was, or in his safe, he always had the money moving. So what I mean by always had the money moving was, he always was lending the money out. So that money was always going out and coming back in with more friends. And when I mean by more friends, I mean like more money than you had. And so, Dad, talk to us about when it clicked to you, and at what point did it click to you to say, man, I got a little extra money. This person needs some money. Let me make some money lending to them.
Well, usually at the beginning of the loaning business was that you knew people who actually needed money, or they at that time they had the 401k. Usually at 401k, even though you had money in 401k, you usually have to wait about a month in order to get your money. But at that given time, people needed help right then. Yeah. Not a month later, but right then. So they needed money right then. So instead of, like I said, I got myself in trouble at a young age, going to check cashing and all these loan places, and finding myself getting deeper and deeper in a hole. So at that time I said, well, why not make me some extra money? Since I had the money, I'm just sitting on it anyway. So I decided that let me loan out a few dollars and see just how it turns out.
And you didn't start with crazy amount. You started with an amount that you knew that if I lost, okay, cool.
Yeah, you don't ever start off with no crazy amount. You always make sure that it's a high risk business. Yeah. So you start off with a low amount, and at that given time when I first started out, I only had $200. Yeah. I started out with $200, and at that given time, we got paid biweekly. So my money at that given time turned every 2 weeks. So usually, if you think about the mathematics of it, man, you're going to make a profit way more than your money actually sitting in the bank. I think at the given time, the bank was giving you a low interest rate. I was doubling and tripling that before the bank the stuff even processed.
Doubling and tripling before the bank even processed. I'm like my dad. I feel like I'm a better manager of my money than giving it to somebody else. And like, Dad, talk about why you didn't trust the 401k, because I actually talk about that and I look and I break down how the 401k is really not made for us. Everybody else eats on our money. But when you need your money, you got to wait forever, and then they penalize you for the get. So what made you, when you looked at that 401k, be like, nah, I'm not rocking with that?
Well, like I said, a lot of people I was around at the time, I mean, 401k was the ideal thing to get into.
Because it was hot. It just really popped off when you.
Yeah, it's kind of like popped off.
Yeah.
But like I said, you have, at that time, like I said, you had people who needed it, then they couldn't go get their own money. Then like I said, they charging interest. So they charging you interest if you go penalize you for getting your money early. And actually, they were charging them quite a bit of money at that given time to kind of come and get your money early, the penalty. And then the whole catch was, they had put your money in stocks and bonds. So basically, they were making money off your money regardless of. So I did my research. Y'all always got to do your research to kind of find out how things operate.
And that's crazy because our auntie was pushing my dad because Aunt Barbara got you on with the job, didn't she?
Yes.
And she was pushing you like, hey, 401k, 401k, 401k. And to have the temperament to take advice from somebody you admire and you love and come up with your own decision after you do your own research, family, that's something that I wanted to make sure that you guys always remember. Now, your family and your friends, your mom and the people that you care about, it's their job to try to protect you. It's their job to give you advice to try to keep you from making mistakes. But you have to do your own due diligence too. You got to do your own research to decide if something is best for you. Now, me and my dad were kind of playing with numbers yesterday. We'll kind of talk a little bit more about that in the interview. But seeing the money that he was making, lending that money out and making that money kind of move, seeing that money that he was making, it was a no-brainer why he said, why would I put my money in the 401k, give my money to people I don't know who's managing money where I don't know where it's going. Then you trap my money, and if I need my money, I get penalized for withdrawing it soon, and I get charged interest on my money for accessing it too soon. So that's just something that he saw. But notice what he said, family. When I said, how did you start your lending business? The first thing that he didn't say, dang, let me see how much money I can make. He said, man, I began to see people were in need, and it took them a while to be able to get their own money. And I felt like I can fill that gap. And I start off with a little bit of money.